No.
For you. And yeah, stop please. I'm recording with my toddler in the background, so this is definitely a practice of patience and peace for me. Okay. Hey peace, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is about what is holding you back from making changes in your life. Disclaimer that when I say you, I definitely mean us, because we're all in this together and we're all learning as we go. Second disclaimer, or preface rather, is when I'm speaking about change, I mean all changes. Habits, eating, lifestyle, any of those things, relationships, etc, etc. But before we get into it, I need a favor from you. Pause this video, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and if you are so kind to, leave a comment below. Let me know if you find this content valuable, interesting, informative. But let's get right into it. So when we speak about changes, I think it's safe to say that all of us have things in our lives, habits, things that we do, people that we deal with, lifestyle, career, etc. Things like that that we do not like, that we wish to change, that we wish were different. And that's what I'm speaking about. In this world, the only thing constant is change. Yet, in our own lives, although we know that we need to do better, we need to change things to help ourselves thrive in the way that we imagine them to, many of the times we still stay, unquote, stuck in these situations, not able to make the changes because we have beliefs and limitations in our heads, in our minds, in our experience. So the first thing that holds us back is really our desire for comfort and ease. We love to be comfortable and we love when things are easy, although they're not. And when they are, we resist them with all of our strength. So it really comes down to resisting versus surrender. In many situations, when we surrender to the circumstance, when we surrender to what is, we're able to go with the flow. And though things may be difficult, because in our mind we know that we are going with the flow and it will not be constantly difficult, we're able to get through that ease and with grace. One example for me personally is childbirth. I had all of my children naturally without medication or anything like that. And when I had my first son, before I knew all the things that I know about birth and babies and the anatomy and physiology of women, I knew that I did not want to take medication with this birth. So for some reason, just intuitively, I told myself, and let me just say, to those who are pregnant or desiring to get pregnant, this is a very dramatic example, but it is just what I told myself in my head. And it's not like this actually, because our bodies just know what to do. I told myself that I would essentially be pushing a watermelon through and it's going to hurt. No matter how you flip it or cut it, a watermelon going through. Okay, so now that I've accepted that, it's like, okay, it's going to hurt. Now, what do I have to do to deal with that pain? And this is the same for situations that we want to change. Okay, I know this is going to be difficult, but what can I do to make it easier? Not easy, but easier. And accept that it's going to be hard, but I will get through it. And I know it's easier said than done. There's also a concept or a phenomenon in psychology that's called the mere exposure effect, or the familiarity principle. And this suggests or says that we as humans, though we do not like a situation or a situation is undesirable, we are likely to continue to do that because it's familiar. This suggests or informs us that we as humans, because we love familiarity and ease so much, we will actually stay in situations and habits and environments that are not good for us or that are really undesirable to us because they're familiar. This is why people stay in abusive relationships or continue to do something that gives them a negative result at the end, because it's easier to go back to that than to change for the good. It's totally subconscious, and that just goes to show how deep our desire for comfort and ease is. I also want to get into 3 points that Brendon Burchard makes. He talks about productivity and entrepreneurship and those types of things. And he speaks of 3 points that hold us back from making change. And it really all starts with fear. So if we think of the two main emotions being fear and love, right? Fear essentially restricts and holds us back, and love essentially frees and allows us to expand, right? It's expansive. Essentially and ultimately, the only thing holding us back from making any of the changes that we desire is fear. And it's three types of fear: fear of loss pain, fear of hardship pain, and fear of outcome pain. So when it comes to fear of loss pain, it is the fear of the pain of losing whatever we're used to. So if we're used to eating junk food, it's fear of not eating the cheese. What are you going to do when all your friends go out and you're not eating what they're eating? Or what's going to happen if you leave this job or leave this relationship? You're essentially only thinking about what you're going to lose and not thinking about what you're going to gain by making that adjustment or making that change. Number two is hardship pain. So hardship pain comes down to fear of it being difficult to make this transition or make this change. I don't want to leave this relationship because it's going to be difficult to be all by myself or thrive by myself. Essentially, I'm afraid of going into uncharted territories because what I know seems in my mind safer than what is unknown. The third one is outcome pain. Outcome pain comes down to fear of the outcome. If I make this drastic change in my life, will I be successful at it? Will I be okay starting the business, or will I fail? Will I be okay making this dietary change, or will I just fail and everybody's gonna see me go back to how I was before? This one essentially is a fear of what other people think and a lack of belief in self. I know for a fact that even when you do have a goal, you might fail, you might slip up, you might have to start all over again, but it's literally all a part of the process. I personally have, quote unquote, failed and started over so many times. And it used to really discourage me because I was afraid of what other people thought, and they're like, oh, she's trying again. You really have to block that noise in your ear and have tunnel vision and focus on exactly what you want and what you desire, and ultimately what is your purpose. Quote unquote failures, they're stepping stones and lessons to be learned that will ultimately help you get to the goal that you want and become the person that you want. Character is built in those failures, grit is built in those failures, and a belief in self is built in those failures. How many times have you done something that you thought was very difficult, and once it's done, you just think to yourself like, that really wasn't that hard. I really psyched myself out about it, right? Really, it comes down to how bad do you really want it? Whatever it is, what is your why? What is your reason behind it? It's very easy to fall back when your why is something frivolous and mundane. For example, if you're changing your diet, but it's only because you want to be thin or you want your body to look a certain way for other people to like you, then you're less likely to be steadfast on that journey. However, if you don't feel good inside for yourself having a diet like that, or your health is at risk, then it becomes a little bit easier to stay the course. Eric Thomas is one of my favorite motivational speakers, and I always used to listen to him. And he had this video, I'll tag it below. Essentially, he says, when you want it as much as you want to breathe, that's when you'll be successful. He speaks of an asthmatic, somebody who's having an asthma attack. And he's like, if you've ever had an asthma attack, you know what it's like to literally not be able to breathe. Nothing else matters. You don't care about nothing. You don't want to hear about anything. All you are concerned about is trying to breathe. You'll take anything and do anything to breathe. That survival instinct kicks in, and you know, either I'm gonna die or I'm gonna live. Think necessarily so hard and pressurized, but we definitely have to have a why that wakes us up to the point where we know that there's no other option but doing what you need to do. And I think as we grow and develop as individuals, we need to balance pressure and discipline versus grace and compassion. Compassion and grace are self-love, but also discipline and a little bit of pressure is self-love as well. We have to learn and develop an understanding of the right recipe of discipline and compassion that we need and tap into each at any given moment. So in conclusion, I just want to say that I know that whatever you desire in your mind, you can accomplish. I know it because I know I can. We are no different. Once you start facing little fears, you develop the zeal and the courage to go for things that seem daunting and scary. This past year, I had to face one of my deepest fears. And it took a long time to even get to the point of making the step for that change. It got to the point where in an unrelated situation, but in the same time frame and circumstance, that I was close to death, or so I thought. I accepted in my mind that I was going to die. I accepted in my mind that like I had cancer and that was it. So my change in my mentality at the time forced me to make the changes that I needed, even though beforehand I may have tried these things and fallen back. So because my why is so strong, there is no way that I can turn back. There is no way that anything else is worth going back on what I set out in my mind. So I encourage you, if there's something that you've been thinking for a while that you wanted to change, or if there's something that you have gone back and forth with, take a moment to sit down and discover your why. So you kind of have to reverse engineer it. So if this is your why and this is what you need and this is what you desire, what are the steps A, B, and C to get to where you want to go? And go for it. Go for it with all your willpower, with all your desire, because I promise you, once you start the ball rolling and you start making steps, it gets easier, though you may have challenges, and you will get the help and you will get the courage and you will get the support that you need to make it a reality for yourself. I'm gonna end like this. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Much, much love. Thanks for watching. Peace.